It's unrealistic. Look, we have almost $3 trillion of market cap in crypto. It's unrealistic for folks to expect people to be able to be living in Discord channels and doing all of this work. I think what that means is that the SEC is going to be asked increasingly more often to approve simpler on-ramps for this stuff. And now, in the last week, by the way, we had a pretty important two things happen. Both Jerome Powell and Gary Gensler basically said, crypto's here to stay, and we're not going to ban this stuff. And so hopefully what it means is that you get some ETFs passed in the United States. Grayscale is one. There could be more. And I think that stuff makes it much easier for folks to own this stuff.
Well, a clear regulation would be a great thing for the industry, for people to buy into it, and removing some of the, let's call them, I don't want to say bad actors, but people who are maybe questionable.
Well, I think you have to put things in a bucket of like, is it an investment or is it something that represents an idea that you love so much? If it's the latter, you should never sell. If it's the former, yeah, you got to manage risk.
Or rather, is it a trade or is it something you want to own?
By the way, let me just clean this up because Solana was not a direct investment for us. What we did is we invested in a crypto venture firm called Multicoin Capital. This is back in 2017. We realized like crypto was becoming like a full-time job for us. It was a total rabbit hole. And we were like, we don't have time to figure out this like 24/7 trading stuff. But we met Kyle and Tushar, who were these two young guys. We met them through Vinny Lingham, actually. And they were creating Multicoin Capital. And we actually invested, we gave them $1 million at a 20 cap to help set up their firm. And then we invested in they had both a venture fund and a hedge fund. And they were like the first money into Solana. So that fund, I mean, it's like a 100x fund. It's just like bonkers.
Crazy.
And so as a result of that, we are indirect beneficiaries of this huge increase in Solana. It will end up being about, $1 billion of, I think, Solana for us in terms of returns. But it's the Multicoin guys determine the trading decisions on that.
Yeah. And so people who don't know, Solana is a programmable, Ethereum competitor, I guess, and it's at $50 billion or so market cap. It was trading at $1 not long ago, and now it's at 164.
It's an Ethereum competitor, basically, for a smart contract platform. And there's a lot of people, I'd say smart money in Silicon Valley, who are betting on a flippening where Solana could ultimately overtake Ethereum as the preferred platform. But even if it doesn't overtake Ethereum, it's the number 8 cryptocurrency right now. It could go, there's a lot of people betting it'll go to number 3 or, what have you.
Additionally, it is a fraction of a penny for a transaction, and it can do many more transactions than Ethereum.
There's so much to know about the crypto world. It's a hard thing to invest in unless you're like totally focused on it.
I've struggled with that. Like I've tried to go deep on a couple topics and like I realized, holy shit, I've been in this for like 4 to 6 hours just trying to learn this stuff and I'm not like there. And then I feel uncertain about making any decisions. I totally get it. I mean, you got to have folks like working on this, and the pace is changing so rapidly. You really need to kind of be up to date on what's next.
It's, the other issue really of Freeberg is when you look at crypto, people use the word crypto as if it's like that's all there is.
Totally.
Crypto is like distributed computing, e-cash, cryptography, financial modeling or building new economic systems, Chamath.
There's business model innovation, there's technology innovation, there's economic innovation, it's
distributed computing innovation.
Yeah, infrastructure, hardware. I mean, there's quite a lot of layers of activity. Chamath, are you spending time in crypto yourself, or do you have people doing it for you, or how are you kind of?
Yeah, we have a lot of it, a lot of everything. So yeah, we have things.
But do you go deep yourself, Chamath? Like, how do you spend enough time to really get up to speed on all the goings on?
I cherry pick and I snipe, and opportunities where I get intellectually curious and jump in. But a lot of the credit goes to my team. There's a couple folks that spend a lot of their time in it, and we've had a couple people do extremely well for us. Similar to David's story, back in the day, I invested in Barry Silbert and DCG.
Second market Barry Silbert.
Yeah. And, DCG is now, I don't know, I'm guessing a $20 billion company, maybe more. I don't know.
So how does it mechanically work with your team? They are investigating opportunities and then they come to you and bring you, hey, we'll do a meeting and I'm going to share 4 with you. And then you say, hey, let me get on the phone with that guy.
Do you basically go deep when something shows up, Chamath?
No. So basically what happens is they have carte blanche to do whatever they want. And what they're typically doing is they're working with entrepreneurs to seed projects and, to get projects off the ground. And then at some point when those projects become large enough, then they'll issue tokens and, we'll get a certain allocation of those tokens. And so we've done that for, call it, I don't know, some number of projects that we think are valuable. Then along the way, they'll have certain views on Bitcoin. They'll have certain views on Ethereum. They'll have certain views on Solana, and we'll make capital allocation decisions. They tend to have the ability to do whatever they want. And then what I tend to do is just think about when it gets above, to me, I need to see the chance to make at least, in the rough justice around, $500 to $1 billion. And then I'll get involved. But otherwise, they just kind of run the whole thing.
Let me ask you guys a question here. When you look at the market caps of these projects, it seems like things are changing. Cardano is number 3 now. And Tether still remains number 5, XRP still number 6, but Solana...
I would encourage people to not look at it like that. I think looking at it as a rank list betrays what it is. So, I'll give you a simple example. Let's compare the fate of 2 projects. Or actually, right now there's a distributed form of Discord that's being built.
Discord, the chat app, very popular amongst gamers.
In a completely distributed way with an integrated crypto wallet. Because if you look at Discord, it's really 2 cohorts of people. There's gaming and there's crypto, right? So,
those are the 2 big ones, yeah.
So, that's an example of a really interesting product that has some real potential. Then if you look at something like DeSo is a decentralized social programming framework. Then if you look at something like Helium, that's completely about building a large distributed, connection of on-ramps to the internet, so internet connectivity. So those are 3 completely different ideas with 3 completely different paths to success. If to invest in those tokens, you have to believe in 3 totally different sets of things.
Yes.
So to look at it on a rank list and just buy something because it's cheap is stupid.
No. My question
I'm just going to be
wasn't
blunt. It's stupid. Don't do that.
No. That wasn't really my question. My question was, we have an extraordinary number of the public who've invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum as number 1 and number 2. And those projects feel maybe stagnant when compared to the dynamism of what I'll call, the projects launched in the last 3 or 4 years.
Because they're at a different, but you're talking about confusing. Again, that's what I mean. Those are layer 1 protocols, right? Meaning they are at the core substrate of how all of crypto is going to work. Then you have these other projects that build on top of these things in different ways or build around them. So my point is, if you don't want to take the time to understand which layer 2s you want to own and which layer 1s you want to own and why, I think you're much better off.
I understand your point. My point
buying an ETF or something else, because there are ways to own these things. So, for example,
David, Solana does not need Ethereum to exist. So my point is, do we see a day when this, the past decade has been about Bitcoin and Ethereum? Do we see a day when maybe people stop buying those and start buying these new ones?
Anything's possible, but here's the evolution in our thinking. I mean, the first step was realizing, okay, we need to own Bitcoin. Why? Because, there's now enough evidence where a decade or more than a decade into this, nobody has been able to essentially counterfeit a Bitcoin. It is, new money. It is better money. So I'm not going to convince people right now of the argument for Bitcoin, but if you believe in it, that's sort of the first step is you realize you really need to have 1 to 2% of your portfolio in Bitcoin in the event that fiat money sort of becomes debased and eventually move to crypto. Then you realize, well, wait a second, Bitcoin is just one application of blockchains. There's a bunch of applications of blockchains. So maybe we need to own not just sort of, digital money, but we also need to own the underlying blockchain platform. And that leads you to Ethereum. Then you realize that there's a bunch of competitors to Ethereum and it's still very early days. And one of those guys might ultimately displace Ethereum as a blockchain platform. Then you realize that there's all these applications on top of all these blockchains. And so, the conclusion I come to after all of that is I can't figure all this out. And maybe I could if I was willing to go back to school and like make this a full-time job, which I just don't want to do. I mean, I'm lazy and that's why I focus on SaaS. Like that's what I know
Your
as
kill
an
zone,
investor. Yeah. Like I'm not going to reinvent myself.
It's like you playing Hold'em versus PLO.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, but this is why we partner with Multicoin Capital. So what I would just say is like the idea that you as an individual investor are going to like, pick off the one cryptocurrency here or there to invest in. I mean, that's going to be a lottery. I would find a manager basically who is really good, who has a track record, who understands this stuff.
Our approach is to hire very young, extremely technical computer scientists and mathematicians to basically do the work. That's working.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I think these guys do, and the reason why it is very helpful for them to be computer scientists, is these are all open source projects. So they go look at the repos. Just go look at
You can actually see the changes being made. And this is like, do you realize there's only 12 people who are actively working on Solana in the
But you need to look at all the code check-ins.
7 of them work for Solana.
You need to look at all the code check-ins. You need to look at the velocity of the code check-ins.
Yes.
So you can see like how many projects are being created on these platforms.
The white papers are also really exceptional. Like if you read these white papers, they're really incredibly thoughtful and well written, and you can really understand what their goals are, and you can make some informed decisions there. But again, if you're not going to be in the business of being in this ecosystem, because I think David's right, everything is moving so fast. What's successful today could be just a dog tomorrow, and vice versa. That I think speculating in this market will not only will it be super volatile, but more than likely you're going to lose all your money. So I would encourage people to not speculate in crypto. I would encourage you to figure out an elegant way of having an abstracted bet, if to the extent you care about it.